Hi, everybody. It looks as though we are live. It's noon, October 26th, 2019, and I'm France. And today we are going to draw. It's going to be interesting. We're going to draw on two different media. It's pencil and pencil. So we are going to draw with a pencil. We're also going to draw with a pencil. Now, it doesn't mean that everybody who's joining today should actually have both at hand. If you have either one, I'm sure that would be great. Um, but yeah, I'm going to be like switching back and forth, trying to wake up the iPad when I'm not, when I want to use it. It's going to be a little different, but we're going to try, okay? So at first, I would like to just give you a little glimpse of the class that we have happening at Sketchy right now, which is Pencil and Pencil. So just hang on for a minute. You're going to see a little introduction of the class, and then I'll be right back. Are you ready? Here we go. Are you an analog artist or a digital artist? You have to choose, right? Well, I don't think so. I'm France Vanstone. I'm a French-American self-taught artist and author, and I love drawing with both analog and digital tools. Sometimes drawing on the iPad is a better fit in my busy schedule, but I've always loved drawing with analog tools ever since I was a kid, and I always will. In this new class, we are going to illustrate this point, literally, by drawing the same face twice. First, with a pencil on paper, and then with the Apple Pencil on the iPad, using the app Procreate. And you will discover that the tools really do not make the artist. So, grab a pencil or grab a pencil and let's draw. And here I am, I'm back. So Pencil and Pencil, the idea behind Pencil and Pencil is that basically, for me, drawing digitally or drawing on paper, while it's not exactly the same experience, it obviously requires some of the same skills. So we are going to put that to the test today, right in front of the camera. And before I start, we have two big announcements to make. One I'm going to make right now. This is about a promo that we have going on at Sketchy right now. If you look underneath the video here on YouTube, you can see a link that is going to allow you to get a class for free if you buy a class. So it's buy one, get one free. So it's called BOOGO, BOOGO, that's the code. But you can access this code directly by clicking on the link underneath this video. So it's great because, you buy any class at all on Sketchy, and you can get any class for free. So I invite you to try that after this little broadcast and see what you want to try next. And hopefully Pencil and Pencil will grab your attention. So that was the first announcement that I had for you today. I have another announcement at the end that I'm going to share, but I really would like to introduce you now to the muse that we're going to have as an inspiration today. Her name is Suzette, and Suzette has this great photo online. It's a series of 4, actually. I already drew 2 a couple of weeks ago, I believe, and I really love drawing them. They're like little vignettes, and the one that stands out, of course, for me was the bottom right corner, which I have not tried yet. So we're going to do this today. We are going to go with pencil and Apple Pencil, drawing, sorry, let me get this right, drawing Suzette. She's here, okay? And I invite you to do this with me. So if you want to access this particular photo of Suzette, again, refer to underneath this broadcast on YouTube. You have access to the actual photo by clicking on a link, I believe. So that should allow you to have it at hand. What I do is I usually have my reference photo on my little tablet, which is my little Android tablet. I don't use it a lot, so I don't always know how to open it, believe it or not. Okay, here we go. So my little tablet here has a bunch of reference photos from Sketchy. It's small, really small, but the definition of the screen is amazing. And as soon as I can find her, I will be able to open it. Let me see. I'll find her in a minute. There she is. There's Suzette. Okay. So I've got Suzette right here. Oh, this is a little bright, but you get the idea. There she is. It's not that bright on my end, of course. I'm going to put this right there next to me, hoping that I'm going to be able to see it well. Yes. Okay, let's see how this cover can allow me to do that. Sorry about the little technical things here. And then in a second, I'm going to ask you who I have here with us today, because I always love finding out who is here. So let's see. Can I see your comments? Yes. Okay, great, great. I couldn't see them earlier, and I'm sorry if I didn't address who was here. So here we go. So we've got Betty. Okay, hi, Betty. I have Marcel. All right. Marianne, please let me know where you're from. I see Sharon is from Southern California. Great. Marcel is in the Netherlands. I believe, Marcel, that the Netherlands has now opted to be called only Netherlands and no longer Holland. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I heard. Alberto from northern Spain. Oh my goodness. And from Sweden, Elgena, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Ute from Germany. And Betty, you are in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Oh my gosh, this is great. And then we have somebody in Sonoma, California. Woo! And Janice. Okay, Janice, where are you? Tell us where you are so that I can say welcome. Well, I can say welcome anyway. But all right, so as I'm going to flip back and forth between paper and iPad Surface, I'm wondering which one I should start with. Well, how about I start with paper? And I encourage you to also have a piece of paper with you, even though, let me see, I can probably, let me select a vertical canvas, right? So that way I have a vertical canvas on my iPad, and I'm going to show you that I also have a piece of paper. Now, this piece of paper that I've got is a Stillman and Byrne piece of paper from one of my sketchbooks. Great quality paper. Amazing. And what I'm going to use, I decided to go with my thick lead, because what's going to happen, since I'm drawing with two different types of media, it's going to be kind of like shorter on both ends. So it's going to be a little sketchier than usual, because I need to try to do something completely on paper and then completely on the iPad. So bear with me as I'm doing this for the first time. Okay, so Janice, you're from Virginia. Yay, okay. How do you get the sketchy photos on the Android? Okay, I am going to feature your question, Ute, because this is really important for people to understand. I use Android for reference photos, right? So what I do, Ute, is I upload any photo that I want to use in a folder in my Google Drive. So I have a personal Google Drive that I use for things like this. I call that folder à dessiner, which means to draw, right? And you can just pile up all kinds of photos in that Google Drive, in that folder in the Google Drive, and then you can open it on Google Drive right here on your Android tablet. So that's the way to go. I really enjoy the format of the tablet, that's the Android, because it's smaller than an iPad. The definition is just as good as an iPad. Even though it is a 5-year-old tablet, it still has an amazing quality. So you can do it that way. That's how I do it. All right, so I've got this reference photo by my side. I've got Suzette. Now it's time for me to really feature my piece of paper. Are you ready? So I'm going to switch between, hold on, let me try to do this right. Yes, so now what you see here is my actual piece of paper. I hope that you can see well. And Ute, I really hope I answered your question. So now I'm going to start drawing. I'm not going to waste any time. Um, this is going to go pretty dark because this is a 4B lead and it's thick. This is one of those lead holders that I've used in my classes before. I love using those. I did not sharpen it deliberately. I don't want to go into the details. In fact, it's going to be pretty broad strokes, to tell you the truth. And then as I start getting something together on paper, I'm going to switch to the iPad to tell you how I tackle the same thing on the iPad. Are you guys ready? Okay. So if you notice, Suzette's head is not exactly straight. It's tiny bit slanted like this. So I want to take that into account as I draw the first line, which is going to be for her eyebrows. Now, what I'm drawing here is fairly dark right away. So I'm not going to be able to hide a lot of my construction lines, I'll be honest with you. This is going to be very, visible. Everything's going to be visible. All right, now I'm doing the eyebrows first, but I don't want to go into too much detail. First, I want to have an idea of how the face is going to play out. So I've got shape of the face here. I'm going very lightly. Shape of the face going like this. Okay, gives me an idea of where I'm going. Hair will go here. And just as the cheeks show here, I'm going to have the nose at about the same height here. Now, I might have to erase some of that line. I'm okay with that. The nose, which takes up about this width. Okay. Nostrils are going to go here. I'll get to that in a little bit. Mouth seems to be right about here. It looks weird right now, but I'm going really in broad strokes, right? Okay, bottom of the face, a bit of it, and then go here. Okay, this seems about right. Okay, we'll see if I have to readjust things a little later, but right now, that's all I have to start with Suzette. But I'm feeling maybe a little more confident, so now I'm going to add a little bit of dark in that eyebrow here and in the eyebrow there without going too crazy. And some hair coming down this way, which is darker at the tips than it is here, so I'm going to worry about the dark right now. Okay. All right, little hair here, there. Okay, so as I'm building this in really broad strokes, you've noticed already how much ground I'm covering really fast, okay? This paper has a little bit of a tooth. It's an amazing kind of paper. Let me pause for a second to give you exactly what sketchbook I'm getting this out of. The sketchbook is this. It's a Delta series premium sketchbook for mixed media, dry and wet media. Frankly, it is amazing for watercolor. If you want to do a little bit of a wash, it works great. And it's ivory, and it's heavyweight, which means each paper is very thick. It only has 25 sheets inside a sketchbook. Really amazing quality paper that we've got here. Almost too amazing for what I'm going to do on it. But you know what? Let's not stress out about supplies, right? Because otherwise we would never draw if we were like, oh, this paper is too nice for what I'm drawing. No, it's not. Your drawing deserves it. But you also know me enough by now, hopefully, to know that I also enjoy drawing on very cheap materials, because I believe in relieving a lot of that pressure that we have sometimes to do nice work, you know. Okay, and you're right, Marcel, I'm gonna feature your little comment here. You are happy that we're doing a female face. I am too, you know. I was just pointing this out this morning earlier that A lot of the lives were male faces, yes, yes. With beards, yes, I know. To the point that people probably think that that's all I can draw. That's fine. I love a good female face, especially with an expression like this. Okay, I'm going to leave this at that because this is just a construction of the face. Did you notice what I've established? I've established the eyebrows, the line where the nose is, which seems to correspond to where the face opens here with the cheekbones, and roughly the mouth going from here to here, but we'll determine that a little later. What I did not determine is where her eyes, where the corner of her eyes are going to be. And I believe if I place them here, I will have something just about right. Yeah, so when it's time to draw the eyes, I will know that the corner of the eyes will be here. This is a start. It looks like nothing, but that's usually how, when I draw on a piece of paper, I get my bearings. Like this is how I can guarantee that my proportions are not going to be too, random. So let me close my little lead holder now, and I'm going to switch to the iPad because I want you to see what I do for an initial sketch on the iPad. It's slightly different because the iPad offers different possibilities, but it's interesting too. All right, are you ready? So now we are on the iPad. All right, and I am going to select, well, let's see what I'm going to select. I think this one deserves a 6B compressed charcoal, which is under, by the way, charcoals in the originals, but I also saved them in a favorite folder here. So under charcoal, you can find this 6B compressed. If you want, you can swipe, there you go, this way, and duplicate it. And when you duplicate it, you can then move it to a new folder, which you create by pressing plus here at the top. So there we go. We're going to start with 6B compressed. Why? Because this is going to be the basis of my drawing. So fairly wide here on the, can you see? Let me see if I do it. Okay. Fairly wide on the width of the pencil and not super, super opaque. I'm going to go down to about 78% in opacity. The reason is because I don't want to go too dark right away. So what I just did on paper were more lines. On the iPad, when I start something, oh, I'm in brown, I'm sorry, I should have started in black. When I'm on the iPad, I like starting something, I like filling in with color right away. I mean, with some kind of tone, so to say. Because we're going to find out that where it's light, we can come back with the eraser as also a 6B compressed and then move away from, darkness, basically. You know what I mean? So this is how I establish my proportions. Her hair comes this way. Okay, we've got the width of the face here. This is super sketchy. You've noticed that my lines here, the initial lines are extremely sketchy. Those eyebrows are going to be here. Now I'm going to reduce the width of my charcoal. The eyes are going to be somewhere here. It's already a little too low. Okay, let me see. I'm going to put the eyes right about here. Again, looking like nothing. I think the nose is going to be here. And then the mouth. Okay. So again, don't be too scared to do something that doesn't make any sense at first, because it really doesn't. The hair. And all this is really out of focus, but will come into focus as we draw. And what I choose to do is choose a 6B pencil, which is under sketching, which again I duplicated and then added in my favorite folder. So in 6B pencil, the reason why 6B pencil is amazing, opacity and width pushed all the way to the max, is that the 6B pencil really allows for some serious dark strokes. I love that. I absolutely love that. So without going too crazy, I'm going to establish where those eyebrows were. Somewhere around here. Okay. I try not to get too distracted by the fact that I made some marks here, because I know that, you know, by drawing and drawing, it's going to be more defined. I'm not a big fan of how I did this eyebrow. Okay. The eyes, I'm going to put maybe the corner of the eyes here. And then, again, this is a line that can leave later, I don't care. Okay. Keeping it sketchy, ladies and gentlemen. It seems to me as though the corner of her eyebrow here corresponds to where the nose is, kind of. That's why these two lines are here, okay? All right, hair. And again, that bangs coming all the way down to the eyebrows, okay? And the mouth, which is going to be somewhere here. Okay, that seems about right, although there are probably many things that are going to go out the window as I draw, including these two lines here. Okay, so if you look at what I have on my iPad here and what I have on my paper, it's kind of weird. It's almost the same thing. Look at this. Okay, but I'm going to continue on the iPad because while I'm at it, I might as well add to it, okay? So first of all, I'd like to pause for a minute to ask you guys who is actually on an iPad and who is on paper, and perhaps even who is on both. So go ahead and tell me in your comments, if you don't mind, who is actually doing what. And if you are simply watching, that's great. I mean, I'm perfectly happy with you being here as a spectator. That's great. But if you are drawing, I would be curious to find out what medium you chose today. So let me know in your comments, okay? I would like to know that. Okay. There's the face, which is rounding at the end here. It seems to be just about right here. All right. So the effect that I'm getting from my Apple Pencil is very, very similar to what I'm getting from the pencil that I was holding a minute ago on paper, because I can make broad strokes. Okay, here we go. Ooh, I'm getting your answers. That's great. So, Teresa, you're doing it on paper. Okay. Marcel, just watching. Good. Peggy on the iPad. Okay. Sharon, paper. Maya on the iPad. Ute on paper. I love this. Okay, great. Marianne, you're just watching. That's cool. Janice, you're trying both. So am I. And Chris, you're watching on your iPad Pro, no paper. Okay, cool. Oh, that's great. That gives me a good idea. And yeah, I wish I could actually do just one and push it all the way. But I think the big challenge of today is to really show you the similarities and the differences between these two media, you know, and how, frankly, at the end of the day, the convenience of the iPad is, of course, what I gravitate towards because of, you know, a busy schedule and being a mom and so forth. But I have to tell you that the skills that I'm using on paper are strictly the same as the skills that I'm using to draw on the iPad. For instance, establishing these proportions here, I did that exactly the same way that I did on the paper. I hope I'm making sense when I say all these things. Okay. You've noticed that on this reference photo, there's a lot of light coming at the top of Suzette's head, which makes her hair kind of fade into the sky. Okay. All right. Ooh, Tessa and Sonoma. I'm on both. Really new to the iPad, so I'm going to take this class. Awesome. I'm really glad to hear that. And Gena, I really hope I'm saying your name right, all the way in Sweden. You are sketching on both. Okay, great. So you are in the same boat as I am. All right. So, did you notice that I'm actually dwelling on what is dark and going gradually into the stuff that is light? But right now, I want to establish all the darker values that I have going on my drawing. I want to be comfortable making sure that these are there so that anything that's lighter kind of feels safer. Okay. Again, I hope that makes sense. Here, I'm going to now work between the nose and the eyes, and then I'm going to go back on the paper and show you how I do that. So it seems to me as though the corner of Suzette's eyes are somewhere around here. All right, I'm going to reduce the width a little bit of my pencil, which is obviously a luxury that I have here on the iPad, that you agree. I don't have with my regular pencil unless I switch pencils, right? I mean, that seems pretty obvious to say. Okay. Let's see how this plays out. Okay, there's the second eye here. Ta-da! Now, one thing that I was thinking of as I was choosing this photo for the live is the fact that this original photo doesn't have tons of detail. It's a little fuzzy. And, you know, sometimes that's exactly how photos that you have to draw from are. They're just a little fuzzier than you would like. So what do? Well, you try to resist the temptation to go with lines, and you fill in values instead. I mean, of course, there are things that are going to be precise, like the corner of that eye. Okay, let's see how I can place that eye so it looks about right. Seems about right, okay. But there's a lot of light inside that eye that I'm not drawing, that I'm avoiding to draw. There she is, there's one. I don't think she looks quite as annoyed on my photo as she does on the original. Ooh, and I'm noticing that the eyebrow deserves to be a little higher than this now. So coming in here, putting the eyebrow at this height instead, okay. I'm really using the side of my Apple Pencil quite a bit because that allows me to make wider strokes. And the wider strokes are great when you don't have that much detail in a drawing. But I'm also noticing, now I'm going to use the 6B pencil in my eraser too, okay, so that I can go into smaller details. I'm noticing that there's quite a bit of light in this little corner here, right by her eyebrow. Did you notice? So I'm erasing some of the dark that I brought in right at first. There. Kind of rearranging things here to match what I see. Okay. All right, why don't we do the second eye now? This is where things get challenging, because when you have a second eye, then things can go in all kinds of directions, right? Okay, let's see. I like that she's got this mad look on her face, which is fun at the same time. I really love this. Adding a little white here. Okay, let's try to get this eye right. Okay. Yep, that seems about right. Something like this, yes? There's an eye. Okay, now adding some values here, because you've noticed that between the eyebrow and the eye, there's a little bit of dark. Trying to go fast. Sometimes so fast that I cover too much ground. Here I went a little too dark, so going in with the eraser. Okay, I'm gonna switch back to my paper drawing now to try to establish what I've established here on paper. Are you ready? Okay. Okay. So turning off the iPad for a minute, putting the Apple Pencil on the side, and now coming back to regular paper, and here still using a non-sharpened, very wide lead, which is how I can achieve the, the broader strokes that we're going to need to fill in all the darks, all the values, I guess they're called. Okay, here we go. Here's an eye, corner of the eye. Here's the other eye. They are not, don't count on eyes to be symmetrical because they're not. So whatever shape you do on one side doesn't mean it's going to be replicated on the other. It doesn't work that way. It's too tempting to make them symmetrical when really they're not. Eyebrows are not symmetrical either. Our faces are not symmetrical, as you know. Okay. Let's try to make this work. So now, what I just did on the iPad, I am somewhat replicating, but of course not exactly the same way. But now I'm going to use the broad side of my lead and add whatever I see as being dark above the eye. And now barely touching the paper, because I'm using a 4B lead, which is super dark, I am barely touching the paper. Because by pressing just a tiny bit with such a soft lead, you're going to get extremely dark lines, which is fine for certain things. Okay, kind of staying a little fuzzy, and now I'm going to draw the eye, the iris in the eye. Okay, there's one. Let's see if I can even introduce the other one. So the other one is like this. Okay. There you go. Avoiding to draw with the pencil what I could easily erase on the iPad. Instead of going back with an eraser in here, I just simply don't draw it. Let me see, it looks as though this is almost out of focus. Can you see? Okay, let me add a little bit of light for when I am on the... Ooh, how's this? A little bright? Probably a little better. I hope so. Okay, which also changes things for me, because suddenly I see things that I didn't see when it was a little darker. It's funny. Okay. corner of the eyes. Okay. She doesn't look quite as mad as she does on the original photo yet. We're going to work on that. We are going to work on that. Okay. All right, so now I've got this this lead, which offers quite a broad side that I'm going to use to fill in everywhere I see dark. But it's not super light. I'm going to fill it in just like that. I'm not doing cross hatching. I'm just randomly making lines. Okay, there's also a little bit of this going on. Okay, now this line here in the middle, of course, is not a good idea to keep. In order to erase this, there's something I absolutely love using. If you guys haven't found one yet, this is Tough Stuff by Papermate. It's an eraser stick. It basically comes in kind of like a pencil, you see, and out of it comes an eraser. I've had this since 2006. That gives you an idea of how little I use my eraser, but when I do, really, I love it because it's so thin that it allows you to go to like all kinds of little places like this, you see. So yeah, Tough Stuff. Love this thing. Absolutely love these things, and I'm sure that they sell those erasers as refills, but I just have not had to buy another one in 13 years. Okay, so let me look at the time because I want some results at the end of this hour together. I really want to have a good example of two faces drawn on two different media, okay? All right. Ooh, I'm seeing more darkness on this side. I'm noticing that I'm already smearing things a little bit. I'm not going to worry about that. I usually use a small piece of paper like this, to protect my drawing. Put a tiny piece of paper just for security. I haven't done this here. Barely touching my piece of paper here. Barely, barely. This might be a little dark, but okay. Here too. It's funny, I think I made those eyes a little small. It's weird. I'm going to expand a little bit here. Not really worrying about lines, but more about where the dark and the light is. Corner of the nose here. And here's a dark nostril here. Nostrils are not symmetrical either, like everything else. Now filling in where I see dark. There's another nostril. Okay, here we go. Okay. filling in some information wherever I can. Yep. Okay. Now things are going to get interesting in the lower part of the face. And I am going to show this right now with broad strokes. Okay, Chrissy, bonjour de Montréal. All right. Thanks. Merci and merci d'être ici avec nous. I'm realizing that this line here is actually a little too far on this side. So I'm going to cancel that. I'm tapping on the little eraser bits that I leave on the paper so that they don't stay here. And I'm just going to put it here rather, but not worrying about it too much now. Okay, mouth. Interesting mouth because it's so thin and looks so angry. It's so cute and funny. I'm going to put it this way. Still adding things here and there. Now, on the bottom of Suzette's face, this is where things get really interesting in terms of light. Suddenly things are darker. Now here on the paper, I'm using this broad stick of graphite, right? So I have to go at it like, multiple times. You will see that when I do that on the iPad, I will have the luxury to use the 6B charcoal, which is a broad, very broad kind of brush. And it's going to make this process a lot faster, you will see. Not really cross-hatching, just kind of, laying lines on paper that blend together to form, a dark area. You see there? Yeah? All right. I don't know, maybe I'm going to close this in a little bit with the hair. There we go. Okay, here comes the hair. Dark as it frames the face and lighter as it goes towards the, the outside. I may not, in fact, dwell too much on the hair, but only in that it frames the face, so here as well. You can probably hear it. Suddenly I'm putting quite a bit of pressure on this graphite. Okay. And what this darkness helps me do is it helps me see where the dark is so that when I come in to bring in more dark on the cheeks, I'm not going to go too crazy. There we go. If you haven't gotten your hands on one of those, thick leads like this, the brand being this, Cretacolor. Let me try to get the right one. Okay, here in my drawer. My goodness, this is much more difficult than I thought. There it is. It went to the end of the drawer on me. Okay. This is what I'm using, a 4B lead by Cretacolor, diameter 5.6 millimeter, graphite, great quality. Yep. Okay, Phyllis. So after drawing 60 years on paper, I am attempting to learn to use the iPad, a difficult switch, but I like that you used a single layer. Yes, for me, I don't perform a lot of magic on the iPad, as you can see. This is just pretty straightforward. For me, the iPad is a piece of paper, just a more convenient one to carry around and to have at all times, especially at night when I'm ready to draw and it's already dark everywhere. And yeah, definitely the one layer thing is my thing. Okay, let's see. Let's continue with this. So I'm glad, Phyllis, that you actually completely embraced the iPad. Hi, Cynthia from Madison, Wisconsin. Okay. Okay, thank you, Sharon, for being here. Thank you. Thank you. It's so nice of you. Okay. All right. Marcel, what are you saying is very expensive in the Netherlands? Are you talking of the price of the iPad? Because they are very pricey in the United States as well. They're just extremely expensive pieces of material, which when you buy one, obviously, you know you've made a form of investment. But for me, there is no going back. Once I started drawing on the iPad, I knew this was a medium I was going to absolutely love. From the second I started drawing on one, it was just immediate for me. There was no hesitation. It was just, oh, yep, there we go. That's what I needed. That's how I felt about the iPad, absolutely. So my belief is that you probably pay more taxes in the Netherlands than we do in the United States. That's the case throughout Europe. If your taxes are anywhere like the ones in Belgium, I would gather you pay a great amount of them. I remember living in Belgium and paying 21% VAT on everything. And that, yeah, when you buy $1,000 worth of equipment, or 1,000 euros, I would say, that definitely makes a difference. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Sketchy, for the answer on the reference photo link. Okay, so we're not far from at least having a face kind of rendered here. I don't know what I did here, but apparently I smeared. I did not even notice that I did, but I did. Okay. I love how much contrast there is in this face. It's such a pleasure to draw. All right. Leaving things sketchy, okay? All right, I'm gonna finish this before I head back to the iPad, because really this is almost done as far as I'm concerned. I'm not going to go into great details for the hair. I'm gonna only suggest it here at the top, especially since it's fading into the light, the sky. There she is. Oh, more dark here underneath. This is great. I honestly do not know that I've conveyed her mad and frustrated expression well enough, but I hope it's there a little bit. I love when I'm drawing for an hour like this or 45 minutes and my smartwatch is telling me to stand. And I feel like telling it, no, I'm drawing, do you mind? Okay, adding a tiny bit here. And I'm going to call this one done because this is extremely sketchy. Just loose. Didn't go into great detail because, again, the original photo did not give me great detail to play with. And that's exactly how I wanted things today. Much darker here on this side of the face. Okay. All right. I also drew with the paper flat on my desk, which is really not something I usually do because when it's flat, it tends to distort everything. But with the camera, it's a much better view. Okay. And the neck is here and here. So let me see if I can suggest some of it here. Okay, keeping things super sketchy. Let me turn off the light so that you can actually see how dark it really got in this particular portrait. Okay, so filling in, as you've noticed, I spent quite a bit of time filling in the information here. And you will see that on the iPad, this kind of job takes a lot less time because the strokes can be much broader. Okay, so let me go to the iPad. So we've got Suzette 1 on paper. And now I'm going to revert to the same thing. Face ID. Okay, let's try it again. I'm in the dark, but okay, here we go. So remember, I was in the 6B pencil, but I'm going to go back to the compressed now because I would like to convey the dark here in the bottom part of her face as quickly as I can. So see what I'm doing? I'm doing what I just did on paper, but it's taking a lot less time because I'm covering more ground with a stick of graphite than I do, of course, even with a thick graphite. And yeah, an ink version would be really interesting. David, I believe, David Wade. I agree with you. I think it would be a very cool thing to do. Problem is, I'm noticing that I think my nose is just a little too high. So with your permission, I'm going to lower it and maybe even the mouth. Okay, let's see what we can do now. 6B pencil. All right, let's just take care of what this looks like here. This looks like here. Ta-da! Okay. Keeping things as loose as possible, really trying not to try to convey details that are not there. I'm just going with what I have, which is a fairly blurry image. Not super blurry, but certainly not, inviting to draw lines. Let me put it this way. There she is. So I think what I can say about one of the major differences between the process that I use on the iPad and the process I use on paper is that generally on the iPad, I get things done a little faster, probably, partly because of the width of strokes that I'm able to do. And it really does bring, a whole range of widths that I couldn't have just in my pencil case, Okay, here we go. Hair. Trying to get this done within an hour. So look, because I'm kind of pressed for time, I am going to finish this very quickly, much quicker than I usually would, I think, if I had the luxury of time. So I did this fairly fast on paper. I'm going to do it probably even faster on the iPad because I can. I can because the iPad allows me. Oop, I just went a little too dark. While the iPad offers an undo feature, this is not necessarily something I'm drawn to a great deal when I draw a portrait. I'd rather go with the eraser. It just feels a little more natural. Don't get me wrong, I have used the undo feature. Of course, it's super convenient. I love it. But I don't know, it just feels like it's a little more, it makes more sense to use an eraser than undo. I don't know. Why that is, I'm not sure. Okay. All right. See how fast it goes with the with Procreate here? I'm really able to cover ground very quickly. And then go back if I want to with the okay, I've got this, and now the 6B compressed charcoal, I am going to be able to really cover quite a bit of ground. Take a look at that. Not going into great detail, but at least allowing for quite a bit of coverage. You see here, right away, you have quite a bit of darkness happening at the bottom. Now, with more time, of course, I would add much more. And then I would go into greater detail and I would go back and forth between my 6B and my charcoal, like for example here. Okay. Let's see, mouth. And I'm going back with the eraser here. All right. This is very fuzzy. Okay, what do you think? We have a face. I might have gone a little too dark here. I'm not a big fan of how... Okay, see, I can just like tone it down a little bit with some eraser and then come back a little wherever it is that I feel. Sometimes adding a little bit of cross hatching. But yeah, this is it. Oof, this is really not the way I want this to look right here, but okay. There, that's a little better for me here. A little better. Because otherwise it might look as though our Suzette has a little bit of literal charcoal on her face. We don't want that. you know, on the iPad you can draw as much with the eraser as you do with the brushes, right? Okay, roughly this is it. The neck here. I really did not go into great detail with the hair here, whereas I really could have. But I think you get it, right? Wow. I'm sorry, I'm sniffly too. Well, that was fast. I usually spend a little more time on a face, whether it's on the iPad or even on paper. Woo, there we go. I think I'm going to stop here because I can't go much further, even though this is quite unfinished on this side here. Oh boy. Okay, does she look unhappy? Because I think the original looked pretty unhappy, but funny at the same time. I really loved that original photo. Without going too much into detail, I think one thing that you can get out of these two extremely loose, extremely sketchy drawings is that obviously there is not a huge amount of difference between the way I tackle one or the other. So let me try to show this to you a little better. So I'm going to push the iPad on one side and push this one on the other. Here they are side by side. Let me see if I can show. Yes, can you see them? Can you see them okay? Whoops, there we go. Okay, that's better. It's a little blurry and I apologize. That's probably because my iPad is so low on light. Okay, how about this? Better? No, too bright. Yeah, this is a lot. This is really bright on the on camera, but you get the idea. I mean, my approach to both is very similar, and the tools of the iPad really allow me to go a lot faster. Okay, okay. I want to make that second announcement about what's happening soon, and then we're going to say goodbye. I want you to know that we are having a new partnership coming up with Faber-Castell, and I'm really excited to announce that they are one of my favorite supply of pencils. I have tons of them at my disposal. You are probably familiar with Faber-Castell. This is an example of a pencil that I've had with me for quite a while. And they are sponsoring Drawing with France, which, by the way, is the group on Sketchy Art School that if you haven't joined yet, you should join for free. Faber-Castell is going to sponsor the group in November, and we are going to give away Faber-Castell supplies throughout the months. And all the US-based members of the Drawing with France group will be getting a discount on Faber-Castell products. So this is super exciting. I don't have all the details yet, but you will see that next class with me, with Faber-Castell, will be done through live videos throughout November. So I hope you guys are excited for this. This is really, really exciting for me to actually partner with an amazing supply, art supply like Faber-Castell. So guys, I think this is it for us. Join Drawing with France on Sketchy. Post what you did today. This is what I did. I'll post it too. I mean, really, this is not my proudest thing, but I know I was going to keep it sketchy, super sketchy, really loose, And I really wanted to show you that whether you are on one medium or the other, frankly, what stays is what you do with your hand at the end of the day. Okay, we are going to say goodbye. Let me see how far we are in time. Yes, we are just about past the 60-minute mark. We are at 65 minutes. My gosh, thank you for being here. Those of you who showed up and drew along with me and came from all parts of the world, thank you for being here. I'm going to post these. Can you please post yours so I can see what you did? And I'll definitely see you guys in November for some live sessions with Faber-Castell. And I'm super excited about that. Okay, yes, I do love Faber-Castell. I know, I know. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here with me. For keeping me company while I try to draw something within an hour, especially two things. This was very new for me. I had never done this before, like drawing two things in parallel like this. But I hope it was fun for you too. Okay, everyone. I'll say goodbye for now. I'll see you on Sketchy Art School. Please, please upload what you drew. Even if you're half proud of it, which is kind of, I don't know, the case for me today. All right, I'm going to sign off and wish you a good rest of your weekend. I'll see you soon, okay? Bye. Bisous, as we say in French. Ciao.